Greetings. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video. Out to you because you're watching. Thank you. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core New Core, and anyone interested in surviving as a Pilates instructor. I think of my YouTube audience as an audience to come in a time capsule. Not only because there's just you and me and a couple others that have watched any of my YouTube recordings, and maybe that'll hold true on into the future, right? I'm having fun, and that's what matters. To survive as a Pilates instructor, it's important that you have fun. And that helps you stay focused on your student having fun. And the reason you want them to have fun is because if they don't have fun, they're not coming back. So no matter how good you are, if they didn't have fun, they're not going to want to come back. And so you don't get to apply your trade on a deeper level if you haven't at least satisfied the currency of fun as an experience. All these titles. I got 6 titles today. Number one is Doing Pilates is Strategic. It's strategic. Why is that? Because it's conditioning, and conditioning is something you do now in anticipation of what is to come. Right? You're looking into the future knowing that stuff comes up from your past experience, you know this, and from your interpretation of your experience, you embrace the conditioning of yourself to increase your likelihood of survival. So doing Pilates is strategic. It's about surviving, and not only surviving, then it expands from thriving into, from surviving into thriving. My words got ahead of my delivery. But right, to me, I've always talked about, and I think that fundamentally Pilates is about survival. Joseph Pilates was a survivor. Talk to anybody that knew him that I ever did, and they always have deep meaning attached to that word in reference to him. But beyond surviving is thriving. And if you're hard on your body or your mind or your spirit, what I'm trying to say is that if you're dancing professionally, if you're being paid to dance, and you need to be in your body to do that, right? And so, through experience, it's become apparent that a routine of doing Pilates is a way of staying out of injury. That's, in a way, the whole reason for the conditioning, right? So, whatever you make of Pilates, to me, it's easy to say that it's strategic because it helps you survive, it helps you stay injury-free, to dance upon the stage of life as you wish, and in that sense allows you to thrive, right? So survive and thrive. Pilates is very strategic and something you do as a routine. I think I sort of slid right by that, but that's right, worth mentioning. You do it as a routine, as a conditioning, Because as a routine, it really takes on significant effect in your body and your mind and your spirit. Okay? Number 2 is a little abstract, and even when I type out the text to the title, it will seem abstract. But the 2 statements associated with what looks like computer code are frame of reference and point of view. A frame of reference is how you draw a frame around something, and a point of view is also a way you look at things or the direction that you're looking in. But they can also have a different context in which the views are taken, or the way you draw the frame. So I rubbed up against, on social media, someone I've been aware of a long time that has a whole point of view about movement. Okay? So that frame of reference is about movement. And then within movement, for this frame of reference, Pilates exists, and other modalities, which I won't mention because I don't want to muddy the water and take my focus away from just talking about my point of view, which is where my point of view is about Pilates, and all I care about is what's within the purview of Pilates as something in and of itself. And I'm not saying that it doesn't fit within someone else's point of view or frame of reference, where it's a movement discipline or a modality that is looked at as in a collection of others. Fascinating stuff. But I've never been so fascinated with anything other than what seems to be the light coming out of the ideal within Joe's work. To care about how Pilates fits into anything else, period. To care about how Pilates fits into anything else. Okay. So there are points of views and frames of reference, and it's helpful to at least have a sense of, is this person's point of view of things about Pilates itself, or is it about something other than Pilates, like movement in a broader sense, where Pilates is a subject within that broader sense of movement? See what I'm saying? Points of view, frames of reference. For me, in Pilates, you have the author defining his method as the complete coordination of 3 words. Not 2 words, but 3 words. His definition in his book. Okay, you see where I'm going now, my next title. He used 3 words in his definition: body, mind, and spirit. And from the Michael Miller Pilates point of view, which is an ideal view of Pilates that tries to, connect to the physics of the real world in that ideal view. And within the physics of the real world, as best we understand it, observing is an essential part to whatever it is that our experience is. And so the listening, the observing, the being completely concentrated on the purpose of the exercise while you're performing the exercise, or the whole point of the method is or not, right? Joe's words, paraphrase. So my point is that the reason that Pilates is so fundamental, like I talked about yesterday, and so essential, is the part about spirit being observing, whatever that is, that, and use a different name if you wish. But that capacity in a human being to be connected to what's coming in through their senses, that's a big part of it. I think it's sensational. Okay, so now the MMP point of view is one view out of 10,000 views that have spawned another 10,000 views, and each view is unto itself the reality of the view that can be expressed as. You know, so as well as you, okay, and that comes down at the end of my titles. Number three. To stand with them in their moment of self-discovery is a sacred privilege. And all that I mean is when you're Yoda and you send your client into the cave of their awareness, and they, through their observing, participating in the experience, right, have sensation that they can discern and take more control of, so for all of what Pilates might be, for anyone else, for me, the true privilege is to be an instructor and is to facilitate that complete coordination of the students being, thinking, and observing. Number four. It is sensational. See, and that's even more definitive and excludes a whole lot of the Pilates culture that would love to not have it be something that is identifiable as an experience the first day or the 600th day that you show up. See, it's making a very narrow claim. And so that's an attribute of MMP. With MMP, you're aiming for an experience the whole time, but you're lucky if you have it once in the course of a session. And the more you can ring that bell, the more fun there is to be had, because every time you connect a person, you don't do the connection. Every time you help a person find the coordination of their being, their thinking, and their observing, it's an experience. Number 5. There's purpose in the purity. There's purpose in the purity. I think I just fell in love with the 2 P words, purpose and purity, and Pilates, of course. part of what I think I mean by that is that normally when I'm going through my reformer workout on the reformer, I'm not in any hurry, but I'm timing it so I know that I want to complete it to end the timer. I want to reach completion, which is a good reason to start a timer and then stop it. And when you do it every day, how much time it takes is a reflection of the workout that you had. I'm a fan of 3 repetitions. The first one to get familiar with it, the second one to over-engage it, and the third one to express it as art. Maybe over-engage it is maybe wrong, but maybe over-control it. Whereas in the third one, you're more artistic, or you allow more art to come through you in the expression of what you're controlling. More refinement in the control, if you will. Okay? So the purpose of the purity, there's purpose in the purity. If you're not going to find some entanglement of effort in those 3 reps, you probably aren't going to find it at all. And for me, more than usual, no matter where I started in, by the third one, it's as deep as I'm going to make it, because I know I'm only doing 3, and so that makes me take it to the depth that I can in the one that I know that I'm likely concluding on. Not necessarily, because I may feel like doing another. But what you want, I think, is your best effort at something, and knowing so well how much your best effort is that you don't need to do another repetition to realize that another repetition would be falling backwards from the one that you just did. Right? Because as a Pilates instructor, you're observing repetitions, for instance, to go off on a tangent, and as you watch them develop their control through their repetitions, their effort gets better and then it gets worse. And part of the role of the instructor is to go in and rescue the student from themselves, because they're not discerning that they've peaked in that effort, or they've gone as deep as they're going to go in that effort, and no matter how much they think they're still diving down, they're really losing control of the effort. Never done that before. And the instructor says, okay, enough, or one more, right? Now I encourage you to go into your student and say, okay, which rep was your best rep? Was it the last one, the one before that, or the one before that? Because you can actually ask the last 3 reps, in my opinion, and they'll have a sense of you sometimes, especially if you start drawing attention to it. What was your best repetition before you faded? And see, when they know that one, and especially when they know that the rep that follows their best rep, right? When they can recognize that one, it's time to be over. Now, I had an owner of a studio come in a workshop and say, wait a minute, I decide when it's over. And I said, okay, when is it over? When do you decide when it's over? So there was that kind of interplay about when is the teacher and letting the student decide when it's over. But the truth, see, if you're after their autonomy and not wanting to be paid as a drill instructor where you're saying never enough and 1 more and 2 more and harder and deeper and just being exhortative as an instructor, that makes your student dependent upon that kind of energy directed at them to accomplish whatever it is you're accomplishing. And to me, you're after autonomy in the effort, and I'm after, as an instructor, helping someone find autonomy in their own effort. And to do that, they have to listen to the quality of their repetitions and evaluate them as they go along, and to recognize, as they say in the Midwest, to recognize, or anywhere really, when you're riding a dead horse. You know, you're not getting anywhere just by doing more reps, especially in Pilates. Why is that? Joe writes about poisons building up, i.e. lactic acid. Number six, you're stuck just like I am, just like all humans are. Making the most of the sum of their experiences, right? And living and synthesizing and moving on from there, right? And so now I'm talking from my perspective of Pilates, and who knows what that is. But when I'm stuck with my view of Pilates like you're stuck with your view of Pilates, and we fulfill our duty as human beings to share our joy, that's how I look at it, or would phrase it, and in fulfilling that duty, end up in the 10,000 different expressions of Pilates. And often, in an attendant role, or a subjugated role, or enhanced, or evolved, or modified. I think from yesterday and talking to an instructor I know on the social media, I think it's a naive notion to talk about what people need to know about Pilates, because there's too many people and there's too many impressions of Pilates, and so a lot of it depends. The need is dependent upon which view of Pilates you're talking about. All right, so you're stuck just like I am, and yet hopefully in the electrons that we've interacted with through projection and observation, from my observing of the dialogue within to making dialogue, to having you have a dialogue with it within, from your observation of it, we each are isolated on peaks of our own experience. And that's why we're stuck, everyone's stuck on the peak of their own experience. And all they can do is try to illuminate in the arena that they're in, or not. When you recognize, maybe for me, that's the best way to put this. When I recognize just how out there my point of view of Pilates took me to core new tension and how core nutension is just a whole new way of looking at body dynamics that acknowledges the biology striving to accomplish movement through the physics that it finds itself in. Those are my 6 titles. But my conclusion, based on all those titles and blah, 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 is accept your isolation and recognize that the whole world will not travel in your neck of the woods to see the light that you have to shine. Now maybe you achieve stardom, but that too is fleeting because you're always on the same tower of your experience. And wherever the population goes, your light will still be the light that it is. What I'm suggesting and encouraging is that I encourage you to recognize that the light that you have to shine will be unlikely seen by anyone. I think is where I have to take that kind of commentary. You have to hold there. What I'm saying is, there will be a distribution curve. There's always a distribution curve. There will be really dumb and really smart. There will be really black and really white. There will, and all the gray in between. See, a distribution between 2 extremes. As a Pilates instructor, what's most important, I think, is to be true to whatever it is your light is. Whatever it is. Because you're stuck with that. You're stuck with being on your tower of experience. I'm stuck with being on my tower of experience. I could be saying pile of, but no, just your experience elevates you from innocence. And in that elevation, you get perspective. And then from that perspective and from that elevation, I think we're all driven to emit our own light, right? And so for all of what else is out there, and for all of what you might embrace beyond Pilates as other conceptualizations, for me, my only interest is in the least amount of effort to get the most amount of return, and that's by far and away, and I think always will be, doing the mat. And if not the mat, then the reformer, or at least the Pilates pattern of movement, as close to the mat as you can or wish to. So this is, as a leader, it seems that I'm good at leading and listening to myself and going somewhere and finding out that I've gotten there with myself or by myself. And in some ways, that's a very luxurious existence. But in others, it calls upon all the more confidence to just realize that I'm stuck on my peak of experience, and this is what I share with you. And there are two main things. And so here's the ad. Udemy.com. Go buy my course, How to Survive as a Pilates Instructor. And at least go there and start constructing your own course, because that's so far my best attempt to survive as a Pilates instructor, by creating a course on the web that people pay for. And then once you have one and you start an income stream, there's an infinite desire for repeat performances by favorite characters. Not for everybody, but at least you get your stuff out there, and it's a way of holding your light. It's a way of establishing an income stream that you control the structure and the content, and to a large extent the price, but you let some other company do the promotions and pricing and stuff like that. And artificial intelligence in terms of directing who sees it. Be you and let artificial intelligence figure out who your audience is. Life can't live forever. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain. Add 2 and 2. I don't know how all these broadcasts, this effort is to help you survive as a Pilates instructor. And not only does that mean now knowing what you know about CT and MMP, but having that frame of reference or that point of view as part of what you have access to, figuring out where to take that and how to take that and what income stream to attach to that, well, is all unavoidably a statement of character, right? But for gosh sakes, see, if you can say, I want this much money for teaching you an hour, and they say, what makes you worth that much? Usually they just say, well, I don't have that much, thanks. It's like, okay. But then I can point to the massive amount of information that I've recorded for them to access to whatever extent they wish, and get to the point where they figure out that it might be worth that much for a live interaction. Right? Make a Udemy course. Buy my course. Tell your students to make their own courses, because the pressure of technology is to create income streams on your own that connect to the world, I think. I've been trying to do that for a long time, and I haven't had much success at it yet, but it doesn't mean that that ideal isn't possible. And to the extent that you end up with something to say that people want to hear, everybody wants to do this, and they want to do it live. They want live interactions, but they want to charge for it and then fulfill the obligation like a performance. which is appealing in a lot of ways. And I encourage you as a Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliate, certified presenter. If you want letters, those are a lot of letters for a line next to your name. As a certified presenter, I hope I've helped. I hope I help you get a true sense of a particular point of view that gives you confidence as a Pilates instructor to keep people safe and to have fun as many hours a day as you choose to instruct to whatever clientele comes before you. Direct your thinking and recognize efforts of others to direct your thinking. There's a fancy name for that, but just, if you don't direct your thinking, then it's up to being directed by whatever pinball world you live in. Geist.